Alright, well, they're right on top of each other, huh? Ugh. It's the only real explanation that they killed each other simultaneously? It seems odd that they would do it and then land like that.
Miles Edgeworth, you should listen to someone until they are finished talking.
What are you talking about?
I'll only say it one more time. This is a competition to see who is truly worthy of the Von Karma name.
A competition?
The person that figures out to choose first wins.
So the person who doesn't discover the truth is dishonored to the name?
Exactly. I don't care that you became a prosecutor before me. I simply refuse to hear any more foolish things come from your foolish mouth.
Fine, whatever makes you happy.
Can I fix it as you accepting my challenge?
Once again, whatever makes you happy. I don't care. I still get to be a prosecutor.
Ha! Listen, let's begin the investigation, shall we? I'm going to find the perfect evidence and prettily present it like the professional that I am.
Competing to discover the truth behind a crime. How delightfully childish. You kids over there, hold it.
Kid? Ha! Serves you right, Miles. He just called you a kid, not me. I'm a full-grown prosecutor, probably. I don't have the degree, but you know.
I said kids, kid.
How dare you call me a kid as well?
I'll do what I please, and I won't allow you to cause a ruckus in my crime scene. Hey, big guy, you're gonna watch over these two.
Yes, sir. Detective Bad, sir. Now do what I say from now on, kids, okay?
You better not get in our way, Scrappy. You feel the bite in my whip if you do.
Hey, then you, prosecutor boy. Let's get your investigation started already, all right?
Great, now even that detective is treating me like a child.
All right, it's time to get investigating. Get a move on, prosecutor boy.
My name is Miles Edgeworth, and if you were to call me prosecutor boy one more time, it will be my duty as a prosecutor to look into your monthly salary.
What? And what would you do with my salary after you saw how much it was?
That's up to you now, isn't it?
Really? Oh, sounds good, pal.
You're so naive, I'm not gonna give you a bonus. Ever. Okay. Detective Bad, may I have a word with you? What is it? It appears that both a knife and a gun were used as murder weapons. Yeah, it does. That leads us to our first question of the investigation. Where did the men acquire the weapons? The gun was inside of Faraday's bag. It was a piece of evidence that was presented in the trial earlier today. It was used to kill the Codopian embassy staff member. But I never heard anything about the knife. Mr. Rao was being held by the police. There's no way he could have brought it in. Which means it's possible that Faraday had the knife on him from the start as well. It would have been a piece of evidence that had yet to be presented. But then, why doesn't Detective Bad know about it? Wait, what if... It's possible that Mr. Faraday brought the knife in under the guise of prosecutorial evidence. He could have then brought it out and attacked Mr. Rell with it. Maybe you got a brain in there after all, kid.
Is he going to treat me like a child forever?
Looks like Mr. Faraday attacked Mr. Rell first, who then counterattacked. That's the only logical conclusion you can draw from a scene like this. Not yet. I feel that it's much too early to be drawing conclusions already. I must first find conclusive evidence, so as to ensure the honor of the Von Karma name. Alright, let's look around and mostly at the crime scene. Though I'm sure there's other things. Looks like Mr. Faraday fell on top of Mr. Rell. At first glance, it seems like they must have killed each other. However,
Using logic, the only logical conclusion is, aha!
What was that outburst for?
My detective's instinct just hit me real hard. It was Mr. Rell that fell first, I see.
You don't need a detective's instinct for that. It's common sense. He's just underneath the other guy. But I suppose we won't know much more than that until after I examine the bodies. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Let's look at the knife.
Looks like Mr. Rell died with the knife in his hand.
There's some blood stuck on it.
Then he must have used this as a weapon. Yep, no doubt about it. Blood on a weapon's the only way he could get there.
Was Mr. Faraday carrying this on his personage? Did he bring this as a piece of evidence for the trial? Or did he bring it with a very different intention in mind? I should jot some notes down about it. Okay, knife. Nice. Gun. Looks like Mr. Faraday died while holding the gun in his right hand. So he shot Mr. Rell and then fell on top of him while still gripping onto the gun?
I guess that does seem kinda strange, huh? I mean, why would Mr. Faraday know how to fire a gun?
It's not exactly rocket science. Even I know how to pull a trigger to simple point-and-click interface. Although I doubt I'll ever need to use one. Never ever. Foreshadowing, probably.
I hope I never have to fire a gun either, pal. But it sure does look cool to hold a gun in your hands, all like pew pew bang bang.
It appears the police's screening procedures need a thorough review. Anyway, I should jot down some notes about the handgun in Mr. Faraday's hand. Okay, we got the knife, we got the gun. What are all of these things down here? Why are there plastic bags scattered all around?
Those bags are for keeping evidence safe, pal.
I know that much, detective.
You sure good at this stuff, aren't you, pal?
Normally I'd be happy when someone compliments me, but when it's this guy, Anyway, could these plastic bags be evidence of a fight between the two men? There's definitely blood all over one of them. Alright, we can't seem to look... We'll look at his head, I guess. Mr. Faraday. How ironic it is for him to lose his life in a courthouse.
Yeah, why'd it have to be like this? I don't know what to say. I can't believe this happened while I was on watch, pal.
Rather than beating yourself up, you should spend your time continuing the investigation. Didn't you become a detective in order to solve crimes?
Yeah.
To get back to work. Find out the cause of this murder.
Right, I'm on it, pal.
And we'll look at Mr. Rell. First he killed a Kodopian embassy staff member, then he was murdered himself.
This guy wasn't exactly an angel, you know?
Oh, what makes you say that?
Well, he's been hauled into the precinct several times for theft and assault, pal. So yeah, he's definitely the type to have committed a murder or two.
Well, he did admit to killing Mr. Deadman.
Hey, good point, pal. I knew my detective's intuition was telling me something.
Detective's intuition?
Yep. You know about it? It's a special feeling that all detectives...
We don't have time for this conversation right now, and I don't care. Let's return to the investigation. Okay. Is there anything else that I'm missing? I think that's just the bags again.
His hand's all black down here, see? I wonder what it could be.
Oh, he's got ink smudges. If you look closely, this blotching pattern resembles an ink stain. Huh. So is he left-handed and he was writing something?
An ink stain?
Yes, I usually get ink on my own hand when I use my feather pen. It's called a quill.
Feather pen? I'd never seen one before. Sure you aren't just making it up, pal?
Alright, apparently that's all there was in that inset. Mr. Rell's cause of death was from being shot, correct?
That's what we think, but it's hard to tell with him lying face down.
Death is bad enough, but it's truly lamentable if someone would try to hide the truth.
Are you sure they were trying to hide something?
I can't confirm Mr. Rell's cause of death with his body positioned like that. Detective Bad, I'd like to examine the bodies in further detail, if possible. What's this? You're not able to form a theory, Mr. Zavese, I believe an examination of the bodies is vital to finding the perfect evidence. Don't you? I suppose you do have a point. Then hurry up and get out of it!
Lady. Yes, sir. We've taken enough photos of the scene, sir.
And there you have it.
Do you not approve?
Of course not.
What?
Investigation of a crime scene is the work of a detective, so don't touch a thing. Hey, big fella, turn over the bodies for me, will ya?
Okay. Please forgive me, Mr. Faraday, sir.
Gumshoe, do not get emotionally involved. Remember, you're a detective.
Yes, sir. Understood, sir.
Okay. Now we can look at their wounds. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny. Alright, this looks kinda stabby.
There's a knife wound in his chest, do you see?
I wonder if the wound matches the knife Mr. Rell is holding.
Labby. Yes, sir. Verifying now, sir.
Make it quick.
From the look of things, one could deduce that the knife Mr. Rell is holding is what killed Mr. Faraday. Potentially. What's this? There's something in his breast pocket. It's a fountain pen. Huh, it's an especially nice nib. Is the fountain pen related to his hand ink?
Hey, you know, I always keep a pencil behind my ear. It's because Detective Bad is always telling me, you should always write your name on everything you own.
Yeah, somehow you do strike me as quite a forgetful individual. I'm going to use logic to combine the fountain pen with the ink stain. Yes. That's spot from Mr. Faraday's hand. I wonder if it might be in the ink from his fountain pen.
Oh, let's ask the lab guy. Detective Gumshoe, I confirm that the substance on Mr. Faraday's hand is the ink from this fountain pen. I see, good work! You know, I've always wanted to say that, even though it's just one time in my life.
If Mr. Faraday wrote with his fountain pen in his left hand, I think it's fair to assume he was left-handed. It appears that Mr. Faraday's pen is very important to our case as well.
Okay, if you say so, pal.
Because he's holding his gun in his right hand, right? So why would he be shooting his gun with the wrong hand? Alright, we need more evidence before we can combine that. So let's look at this. Mr. Faraday's holding a gun in his right hand.
That's the one Mr. Rowe got blown away by, right?
Labby, your answer?
Yes, sir. We found that the ballistic markings do match that gun. Ballistic markings are
the figurative fingerprints a gun leaves on a bullet when fired. Every gun leaves its own unique ballistic markings. Therefore, by looking at the markings on a bullet, you can tell which gun it came from.
Yeah, that's it. Of course, I already knew all about that, pal.
Maybe you're better off going back to the academy.
Come on, sir. Cut me some slack, will you?
So the bullet that was fired from this gun is what felled Mr. Rell. Okay. So I know that he's left-handed and it's weird that he's holding a gun in his right hand. But I'm not sure how to make the game care about that yet. Looks like Mr. Faraday was stabbed with this knife that Mr. Rell is holding.
Ouch!
What's wrong, detective?
My stomach started to hurt from just thinking about being stabbed.
Just keep your mind on the case, all right? And the gunshot wound is important. Shot in the chest.
Takes some guts to fire a gun in a courthouse. I mean, I've been a detective for a whole week and I still haven't fired a single round yet.
There aren't any burn marks on his clothes. That must mean...
Wait, burn marks?
A round grows very hot as it is discharged from a firearm. Therefore, burn marks are usually left when a shot is fired from point-blank range. It happened in the previous case that happened 7 years from now. You'll know all about it. Ergo, Mr. Rell must have been shot from at least a yard or two away. Okay. So how did he shoot him and get stabbed after he got shot from a yard or two away?
You should know a bunch of neat stuff for your age, pal.
Apparently, the detective has as much common knowledge as your everyday marsupial, which is that he knows how to put things in his pockets and not much else. Let us now try to understand how the two men died. First, Mr. Faraday took the gun and the knife out from today's trial evidence. Then he aimed the gun at Mr. Rell and fired. However, Mr. Rell managed to grab the knife and counter Mr. Faraday while being shot. Then the two men fell together where they stood. That is my theory in any case.
Nah, that's wrong. What a crazy way to go.
Still, something about that explanation just doesn't seem right. Okay, crime scene notes. I believe I now have a firmer grasp on what happened here.
A lot of things seem wrong here.
Plant. The decorative plant's foliage is quite nice. It's actually soothing to be around it. Perhaps I should purchase one for my room. Ha. Tea set? There are some plastic bags stacked up on the table. There's a tea set too, but there doesn't seem to be any sign of a disturbance.
Yeah, the table's all neat and tidy.
So where did the bags come from?
Maybe they were super quiet in this couple? Maybe they had a really quiet fight. They had a whisper fight. They were like, hey, watch out, I'm gonna come get you. After all, I didn't hear anything from out in the hallway, you know?
Maybe the plastic bags scattered on the floor throwing us off.
Logic button.
Plastic bags strewn about with the plastic bags on the table. I may not be able to connect these, but they seem related, so I'm gonna mash them together. Okay, something came out. There was a very tidy pile of plastic bags on the table, and yet a portion of them wound up scattered on the floor as well. It's not likely that the ones on the floor were knocked over during a struggle, in which case might there not be another explanation as to how they got there.
Another reason?
I believe it's possible that the blood on the outside of the bag is related somehow.
Please get that blood away from me, pal.
Detective Gumshoe, whose blood is on this bag?
Hold on. Let me at the lab guy.
Alright, please hurry.
Where you get all this, pal? It's Mr. Faraday's. Oh, and the technician said they didn't find anything else on or in the bag either.
It would appear that this bag is a very important piece of evidence.
Okay, if you say so, I'll leave it in your hands, pal. I'm not touching it, it's gross.
Okay, those bags were important, it turns out. What's in this bag? There's some stuff in the bag.
There's some stuff in the bag, pal.
I suppose this was Mr. Faraday's bag. It's probably the trial evidence I was supposed to collect from him.
This is the evidence? I better not touch it. I'll leave prints on it.
You just don't pay attention to anything you do. Let's see. Why are there plastic bags scattered all around?
Those bags are for keeping evidence safe, pal.
I know that much, detective.
You sure are good at this stuff, aren't you, pal?
Normally, okay, we've seen this exact exchange before. Let's talk to the labbie, maybe, if we can get to him. Actually, I don't think we can, because there's dead bodies in front of it. So, let's look at the TV.
Whoa!
What is it, Detective Gumshoe?
My TV at home's so tiny compared to this one, pal.
Then perhaps you should purchase a more normal-sized television like this one.
Oh, let me see here. Wow, this thing is huge! Ah! And way too noisy!
Come the noisy one, Scrappy!
Don't touch it, you'll get your fingerprints all over it.
But I didn't touch it!
Preservation of the crime scene is the foundation of detective work.
The foundation, huh? Sounds like something the rookie here needs to shore up on. What about this window? The window is open, and there's a fresh, flowery scent in the air.
The flowers in the garden down there are so gross and ghastly.
Do you think maybe you could try offering something useful for a change?
Well, at least there's no way someone escaped with this window, pal. They wouldn't wake up and smell the flowers after a fall from the 3rd floor.
Are you willfully ignoring the fact that there are also iron bars on the windows?
No human can climb through these windows, but the scent of flowers is in the air. Interesting. Yeah, I guess there's that too. Either way, no one can get through these windows, right?
They thought of everything when they were designing this courthouse. Very nice.
I guess there's not much left to investigate, huh? They really did kill each other.
No, we can't conclude that quite yet. This is something I find very peculiar here. The theory that they simply kill one another is too simplistic in this case. In fact, there is actually a contradiction that shows there is another possibility.
No way, pal. Really?
I suppose I will just have to show you the conflict in this crime scene. I won't rest until I've inspected every suspicious-looking nook and cranny.
So I can deduce... What evidence... Oh, I don't need to look at that. I wanted to look at the thing. Let's look at the organizer. What evidence do we have to throw at it? Crime scene notes. There's no gunpowder burn on his clothes, just like he was shot a few yards away. What other... Left-handed Faraday. So that's what we're gonna get first. We're going to deduce the gun using the left-handed pin.
Now we come face to face with the contradiction I spoke of, and it is this. Mr. Faraday used his left hand to write with his fountain pen. Ergo, he is left-handed. And yet, the handgun is in his right hand. Don't you find it odd that the left-handed Mr. Faraday would hold the gun in his right hand? That, ladies and gentlemen, is the great contradiction haunting this crime scene.
Hey, you're right, pal. That does seem kind of strange. But how could something like that happen?
The facts add up to one conclusion and one alone. Someone else put the gun in Mr. Faraday's hand after he died.
Someone else?
Plastic bag scattered on the floor and a gun in the wrong hand. I sense the presence of a shadowy figure behind this case. A person of vile intent who is serious about keeping the truth from us.
I was also going to present the gun, the bullet hole with the fact that he couldn't have been shot at point blank range. But I guess that's not as important.
Here's the autopsy report.
It is probable that Mr. Rell survived for a short time after he was shot. However, Mr. Faraday died instantaneously from his stabbing. Interesting.
I guess he could have shot him and then he could have stumbled forward and stabbed the other guy and then died afterwards. So maybe that's not wrong.
Looks like we now know everything we need to know about this case.
Are you sure we know everything?
Of course, the incident began with Mr. Faraday attempting to get his revenge. The prosecutor went into a rage from being accused and tried to kill the defendant. But the defendant fought back and they ended up killing each other. It's all very clear and simple. There's absolutely no margin for doubt.
Do you really believe that to be the truth?
Ha! Are you saying that just because I figured out the truth before you? That you don't want to believe it's true that I'm the greatest? It's alright if you disagree with my arguments and prove me wrong. Well, if there are any contradictions to be found, that is.
Don't worry, I will.
Mr. Faraday's death was instantaneous, while Mr. Rell survived for a short time. From this, it's obvious that Mr. Faraday died after he shot Mr. Rell. And Mr. Rell, while on the brink of death, stole Mr. Faraday's knife and stabbed him. Those are the facts of this case.
Mr. Faraday's death was instantaneous, therefore he must have attacked first. Proving that logic to be false is probably the fastest way to show her that she's wrong. In that case, I should first look for any holes in her theory.
Okay, alright. We know at least one thing that she doesn't seem to have figured out yet.
Mr. Faraday's death was instantaneous, while Mr. Rell survived for a short time.
Do
Do you truly believe that Mr. Faraday died instantaneously?
As a matter of report right here, Mr. Faraday died instantaneously of shock due to being stabbed in the chest. So you see, it's been documented clear as day.
Ah!
From this, it is obvious that Mr. Faraday died after he shot Mr. L.
Hold it!
Mr. Faraday shot Mr. L before he died. Do you have any basis for that statement?
Your foolishness has no end, does it? Now, I hate to repeat myself, however, Mr. Faraday died instantaneously. That's all the basis I need.
Alright, so if Mr. Faraday died instantaneously, then he must have attacked Mr. L before being stabbed.
You're finally beginning to catch on, I see. And Mr. L, while on the brink of death, stole Mr. Faraday's knife and stabbed him.
Hold it!
Do you believe that the dying Mr. L stole the knife from Mr. Faraday?
Mr. L became desperate as he did not want to die. Human beings can do amazing things when they are put to the test. So the two men struggled. And in the end, Mr. L was able to grab the knife and stab Mr. Faraday. The messy condition of this room is a testament to their struggle. Yes, my logic is perfectly sound.
Can you really say that is perfect?
What are you insinuating?
Nothing. However, I can't let what you said slide by without further inquiry. One must be clear and precise, so you could append that statement to your testimony.
Fine. They struggled and Mr. L used the last of his strength to counterattack Mr. Faraday.
They struggled. That's the new thing we've added. Let's press that. Last statement doesn't seem interesting. About this statement,
Mr. L used all of his remaining strength to take the knife and defend himself. One can easily see that they had a violent struggle. Of course, it's nothing compared to what my riding crop can do.
how does one compare the damage your crop can do with the state of this room?
Furthermore, all the plastic bags on the floor in this room were scattered there due to the fight. Is there anything else that I can explain for you?
No, that will be fine.
Alright, what do we present here? Let's see. This has his blood on it. But it's not super helpful. I should have shown her my prosecutor's badge. I bet it would make her really jealous. I feel like the thing to present is like the plastic bags and stuff. They didn't hear sign of a struggle. So maybe Gumshoe's testimony is the important thing here.
If the two men were fighting, their struggle would have surely caused quite a bit of noise. However, Detective Gumshoe testified that he heard absolutely nothing.
Ha! You place too much faith in that detective's testimony, you know. But for the sake of argument, let's say there wasn't a fight. How then did Mr. L get his hands on the knife?
Mr. Faraday's bag was sitting right here in lobby number 2. It is not hard to imagine that perhaps Mr. L saw a chance and took it out at some point.
So, what you're saying is this. Mr. L took a chance when he saw the opportunity and took the knife from the bag. And then Mr. Faraday shot Mr. L after being stabbed.
Isn't there something strange in Franziska's statement just now?
Maybe. I'm gonna say yes, or he probably wouldn't say that.
Wait, something doesn't add up.
Oh, really?
It's simply not possible for Mr. Faraday to have shot Mr. L after being stabbed.
Because he died instantaneously. Yeah.
Take that!
According to the coroner's report, Mr. Faraday died instantaneously, meaning that he died immediately upon being stabbed by the knife. Ergo, he could not possibly have fired the gun after that.
Oh, you got me.
But of course.
Well then, if the report is correct and there's only one correct explanation, if we suppose that Mr. L attacked first, then Mr. Faraday, who died instantaneously, would have been unable to kill Mr. L. Therefore, Mr. Rell must have stabbed Mr. Faraday after he was shot, since they both died. That is the only explanation that makes logical sense.
Negating your opponent's idea is not to prove your own theory. I see you've been studying, Franziska.
I just wanted to explain it to you as simply as possible. Before you foolishly propose a foolish theory that only a foolish fool like you could.
How naive of you to believe that only your opinions are valid, and still expect to discover the truth the crime scene offers you. Franziska, you've still got a ways to go.
What are you talking about? Are you saying there's a flaw in my logic?
Mr. Faraday died instantly, and the fact that he did is what gives rise to the contradiction in this scene. The contradiction here in this crime scene is...
the order the bodies fell? Let's look at that. Yeah, if he died instantaneously, how did he get on top of the other guy? What's happened? That doesn't matter. That's there, but the bodies fell.
Let me get this straight. What you're arguing is this. Mr. Faraday took the gun from his evidence bag and shot Mr. Rell. Then the wounded Mr. Rell found an opportunity to take the knife and strike back. Upon being stabbed, Mr. Faraday died on the spot, and Mr. Rell died shortly thereafter. If that's the case, then how do you explain this? Take a good look at the order in which their bodies are piled.
No!
Mr. Faraday's body is lying on top of Mr. Rell's. Therefore, Mr. Rell must have died before Mr. Faraday.
Impossible!
Yes, I agree that it seems strange no matter what angle you approach it from. Which means that the real mystery behind this crime scene that we must solve is...
No, not so fast, Miles Edgeworth.
What now?
I simply think that you ought to think a bit more outside the box. And that it's even clearer now that the incident started with Mr. Faraday's murderous intent.
She sure bounced back quickly. An explanation won't be enough this time. It's going to take some very decisive evidence to prove her wrong.
All right.
It was just chance that Mr. Faraday's body fell on top of Mr. Rell's. The two bodies fell into a pile, which indicates that they attacked each other at the same time. It really doesn't matter in the slightest that they fell in the opposite order.
No, because if they've attacked at the same time, going shoot, stab, there would be burn marks because it would have shot at point blank range.
I just know that Franziska's explanation isn't absolutely correct. All I have to do is find a hole in her logic. Once I do, I can then present her with the evidence that proves the contradiction.
But we're going to do some pressing and give her a little rope to tie herself up with.
There's just chance that Mr. Faraday's body fell on top of Mr. Rell's.
Anytime you say it was just chance, means you're probably just making things up.
Objection!
Well,
Pressing someone's testimony in order to gain some time to think. You're a real one-trick pony, aren't you? It's too bad your trick only works on fools! Not me!
That wasn't my intent. I simply wish for more detail as to how Mr. Faraday ended up on top of Mr. Rell.
Someone's impatient. I was just about to explain everything to you. So do you think you could hold on for a minute?
Franziska, I'll make you a deal. I'll hold on if you hold on to that whip of yours.
Oh, I'll hold on to it, all right, as I whip you! Well, now that you've quieted down a bit, I'd like to continue, if you don't mind. The two bodies fell into a pile.
Hold it!
The two fell on top of each other. Don't you find that to be just a bit strange?
Not at all?
I can see it in her eyes. She's dead set against me from the bottom of her heart.
Miles Edgeworth, once I'm done here, you'll see that there's nothing strange at all. Now, since the two men fell into a pile, which indicates that they attacked each other at the same time.
this is definitely our statement.
What do you mean by they attacked each other at the same time?
I assume Mr. Faraday had the two different weapons in his hands. He made to attack Mr. L while holding both the knife and revolver, and then, after Mr. Faraday fired the gun, Mr. L grabbed the knife as he was falling and stabbed Mr. Faraday. That is how Mr. L wound up on the bottom with Mr. Faraday on top. At close range, that is more than possible.
Yes, it's possible, but...
Well, if you have any other ideas, then show me what you got!
Oh, I will. And to that extent, I'd like for you to append what you just said to your testimony.
I don't see any point to that, but as you please.
The facts indicate they attacked each other at the same time from close range.
That's the one. I'm not sure what evidence yet points out that this is where the bullet's important. The lack of burn.
You're saying they attacked each other at the same time from close range.
Exactly. Mr. Faraday pointed the gun at Mr. L's chest and pulled the trigger. Mr. L then took the knife from Mr. Faraday and stabbed him before he fell unconscious. Then Mr. Faraday instantly fell on top of Mr. L from the stabbing, pinning Mr. L under him where he died shortly thereafter. And that's how they ended up on top of each other with no contradictions to be seen. It really doesn't matter in the slightest that they fell in the opposite order.
We're gonna go ahead. Let's see what we've got. At close range. Bullet that killed was fired from a few yards away. So it might just be showing the gun. I'm gonna check this just a minute, double check. This also says there's no gunpowder burn in his clothes, suggesting he was shot from a few yards away. It's possible he was alive for a little while after being shot. That gives me more. I'm gonna present this one.
Objection!
So you believe they killed each other at close range? Sorry, but that's impossible. Just as it's written in the crime scene notes, the firing of the handgun did not leave a gunpowder burn on Mr. Rell's clothes. Therefore, Mr. Rell and the gun must have been separated by a distance of at least 2 or 3 yards. Yes, this is by far the biggest contradiction. The two bodies are piled up on each other, yet the gun was fired from a distance. And with there being no chance that Mr. Rell moved that far after being shot, that leaves only one possible explanation.
What a completely foolish line of foolish thought from a thoroughly foolish fool! If I'm not right, then who was it that made the first move to the intent to kill? Huh? Who?
The person that attacked first with murderous intent, that would be
neither man. I think there's got to be a third party. That's where we're running with this. The only way it makes sense is if somebody else started the killing.
Here in this room, contradictions appear no matter which man we claim attacked first. Thus, there can only be only one explanation. There was a third person here. It was that third person who killed both Mr. Faraday and Mr. Rell, and set their bodies up to make it look like a double murder. That third person is the real culprit.
Miles Edgeworth, there's just one thing you're missing.
Evidence, correct?
Exactly. Everything you've said up until now is nothing but a story played out in your head. However, this is where the real test begins. Can you prove that there was a third person involved in this crime?
Of course. If a third person was truly here, that fact would resolve the glaring contradiction. The proof of this has all been a setup, made to look like they killed each other. I'll present it, and lay bare the final piece of the puzzle that's not yet in place, just as soon as I figure out what that is. What is the piece of evidence that proves there is a third person involved?
I think it's the evidence bag, actually, that was used to bring the knife in that already had the blood on it. Right? Maybe? We've got a 1 in 8 chance, and it's almost certainly not the prosecutor's badge. Let's look at this. One of the bags shown on the floor, live number 2, has Faraday's blood on it. I'm gonna throw it out. I'm gonna throw it out!
The gun in Mr. Faraday's hand, and the plastic bag with his blood on it. The gun would have been a good thing, too. These two items point to the presence of a third person. Okay, so I had a 1 in 4 chance, guessing-wise. How so? Recall Detective Gumshoe's testimony.
I was in the hallway the whole time, but I didn't hear a single peep of a struggle.
If there wasn't a struggle in this room, then there shouldn't be any plastic bags on the ground, meaning that someone else must have deliberately scattered them around. Oof. Do you not see the possibility in this? Disregarding the gun for the moment, there's a high probability of blood splatter when a knife is used on a person. If the culprit held the knife with a plastic bag around it, they could use the bag to catch any blood splatter when they withdrew the knife. Then by spreading a few more plastic bags around, mixing the bloody one in with them, and arranging the room to make it look like there was a struggle between the two, they were able to conceal their presence.